Ever since it was announced by Corsair, the 110R case has been subject to quite a lot of scrutiny, with people already judging it rather harshly before the whole thing even came out. And yet, despite so many people saying it's bad, I decided to buy one. In fact, I've been looking for a new case for quite a while, and this one just ticked off all the boxes. It's nice, small and compact, meaning that it won't take too much space while still being ATX. It has an optical drive bay, which for whatever reason is becoming rather rare on PCs nowadays. And then, also, and what's probably most important for most people, is that it just looks nice. That is my opinion. So why did I go for this case? And is it exactly as bad as everyone says? Well, let's go over it. As it is a case we're talking about though, naturally let's go over appearance first. It's all nice, black and sleek. It's very minimalistic, if you couldn't guess it by the amount of times they said the word minimalistic in the official launch video for the whole thing.
A minimalist mid-tower, minimalist design, a minimalist case, minimalist.
And also it has a nice tempered glass side panel. However, that's already where we reach our very first point of division, because even though it's all well and good to have a glass side panel, there's some stuff in this one that will make it either hit or miss for you. And that is that the side panel is very dark, as in the glass itself is very dark and hard to see through. This can be a great turn-off for most people, and I gotta agree, because for many people who want to show off the inside of the case, that will make stuff a lot harder. And to be honest, when I was buying it, I had no idea how dark the thing was, because that kind of thing is just so hard to see online. So I was kind of surprised when I just put everything inside and noticed that I can barely see what's inside my PC anymore. So I actually ended up doing something that I never thought I would do, and is actually buy a few RGB strips and put it along the PC to make it, look a bit nicer and, so I can actually see inside my PC. However, it can be a good thing as well, as it is a great way to hide any cables, especially for ones that wouldn't look that great most of the time. For example, cables that are running straight through the middle of the motherboard and stuff like that. So the dark glass side panel definitely helps with that. As we open it up, we can already see that it's a nice giant cover for the PC, which is great for hiding all your cables. And even despite that, you have plenty of room to work with. As you can see, there's also several holes at different heights for all your cables to the right, and also a mounting space for 2 more fans at the front, which I have only one of, but I'm planning on maybe getting a second one in the future. More on that in a bit, because to a lot of people, one of the main issues with the case is the thermals, and yeah, let's just get back to that in a second, shall we? When you open the back, you'll notice that you have adequate space for cable management. Definitely nothing amazing, but nothing too horrendous either. And I think I kind of went over that in my initial build video. In the end, it's not like I had all the space in the world, but it definitely wasn't that bad. However, while we're in the back of the case, one thing you should consider is that, you know how most PSUs have, 2 strands of SATA power cables? Well, here's the thing. Since you do have an optical drive slot in this one, because of the way the whole case is built, you're going to have one whole strand going all the way to the optical drive, and then you can't use the whole strand for anything else. Then you could use the second one, for example, for your hard drives. That means that you cannot use the SSD cages for your SSDs unless you have a third strand. Unless you have some PSU with extremely long strands, they're simply not long enough to connect everything together. So out of the optical drive, using the hard drive bays and using the SSD bays, you can only choose 2. So that can be extremely bad for people. Or you could, just leave your SSD hanging anywhere in the back and not actually put it in the case if you want. Or, since the era of M.2 is upon us, maybe that's not even a problem for you because your SSD is already directly down your motherboard. Now, let's talk about the big one. And that is thermals. Let's go over it, shall we? First off, let's go with exactly what we have in my PC that's emitting heat. We have ourselves a Ryzen 3700X running underneath a stock AMD Wraith Prison cooler and an Aurora GTX 1080 Ti. Both are running at stock speeds. At first, I only got one fan for it. After all, it comes with one already for outtake, so I just got a Pure Wings 2 from Be Quiet, put it in the top and thought, I'm done. After all, in my last case, I needed only one fan and it was fine. However, I soon learned that the temperatures were, let's just say, not that great, easily reaching even up to the high 80s in more intensive games. The thing was pumping out so much heat that sometimes even the whole back of it was almost untouchable because of how hot it is. So I decided to buy a second fan, a Silent Wings 3 also by Be Quiet, put it in the front, and again, things didn't improve. In fact, 2 times during some very intensive gameplay of Company of Heroes 2 of all things, I actually had the computer shut down from overheating. However, even though we always think of hot equals bad in a PC, one thing to ask yourself is exactly how much this matters. Because if you have an amazing graphics card and even just a decent CPU, and if your whole strategy doesn't revolve around, you know, your graphics card and your CPU really pushing their limits, turboing for as long and as much as possible, then it should be fine, especially if you don't play too intensive games, and I've learned not to really play more than one game of Company of Heroes 2 at a time. But if one of the things you rely on to get decent FPS is an overclocked CPU or something like that where you really pump out a lot of heat and need to keep temperatures under control, then you may want to invest in either AIO or some other extremely good cooling for the case. But that begs the question, if you spend so much money on cooling, isn't it better just to buy a more expensive case and then just spend less money on cooling? And although that's true to some extent, then you will be losing on all the other unique stuff that this case will offer. And yes, I could have bought a more expensive case, but there's no other case that was expensive but still affordable that looked as good as this and had all the features I wanted. And that's the case for most cases. Because you can spend more, but of course, if the less expensive case is the one that looks nicer and has the stuff you need anyway, so why bother with a more expensive one? Just buy some more cooling then. I can't stress how good the appearance is of this one, that's why I decided to go for it instead of say something more expensive. However, that's not to say that there's other things that this case kind of disappoints in, that even some cheaper cases do better, or even my old case did better, and that's things from like 2013, and it's like the only case XFX ever made. Yes, it was an XFX case, and yes, if you didn't know, they did make cases, or a case. And the main thing is I/O. You just don't get too much. You get 2 USB 3.1s, which is faster than my 2 USB 3 that I had in my previous case. Well, actually just 1, because in the other one I had, I don't know how, but you know that plastic USB thing that you have inside a port that tells you what gen it is? Well, somehow that fell out of one of my ports, and it made all the pins just go all over the place. I have no idea how it happened. But in the previous case, it also had 2 front USB 2.0s, which is always a nice touch. And unlike this case, it also had 2 front audio. Now, I don't use front audio at all. I don't even use back audio on my motherboard really, because I have a separate sound card tray used for everything. But the more I/O options are always nice, and even if I don't personally need them, and honestly I couldn't care less and we have 1 audio port in the front, most people would probably like 2, or 1 for mic and 1 for headphones. Speaking of I/O, there is no USB Type-C as well, which many people may not even care about. I don't care about it too much. It just makes the case slightly less future-proof, I guess. But it's also kind of disappointing seeing how between my motherboard being X570 and even that having a USB Type-C, and also my case not having any, it's just a tiny bit So overall, this is a case of compromises. There's no other way of saying it. And it's a case of things that may be a deal breaker to some, or something that some people don't care about, or even benefits. Yes, you get a great side panel, but it's also kind of dark and hard to see in, but it can also be good for hiding cables. Yes, you may not get too much I/O in the front, but you may be a person who doesn't even need it. And yes, the firmwares may be awful, but if you buy enough cooling or your parts don't regenerate too much heat, then that isn't something to worry about either. So you just need to weigh up how much all those things mean to you. I know it looks awesome, and I'm happy I bought it, even for its drawbacks. And I definitely recommend it if the specific things it does right appeal to you, and the things it does wrong you don't really care about. Or instead of saving up money for a brand new case like this one, here's the deal: why don't you save up for a brand new whole PC from Avrona Systems? Because we just launched. We're gonna have a link to it down in the video description below, and if you need any new PC, then check us out. We have PCs starting for as low as £270 if you're on a tight budget, going all the way up to £2,500 almost, with plenty of PCs in the middle, so there's definitely something for your budget. Because, you know, it's kind of one of the things, a PC for every budget, it's kind of one of our mottos, you know. And the best part is that for the performance you get, you are paying less with us than with other PC companies. And no, that doesn't mean the quality is awful, the quality is still amazing as you would want for a new PC, it's just that you pay less and you get the performance you deserve. So definitely check us out down in the video description below. Because if you live in the UK and need a new PC, then this is clearly just the obvious choice. Also, I'd love to thank my patron Barry Yule for supporting the channel. Thank you ever so much, and if you want to support the channel on Patreon, the link is also down in the video description below. Even $1 a month goes a long way in helping me make way better videos and videos on way more interesting topics. And also, check out my Discord, it's also down in the video description below, where you can, talk to me or others about whatever you want. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in what I make next. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.